Hey everyone, so in this video I'm talking about one of my favorite focal lens, and that's the 28 millimeter. And why to me the 28 millimeter deserves a lot of love from the mirrorless community, and why it is potentially going to be a very good second lens for you if you are into street photography, travel photography specifically, and why it may be something that you should highly consider um, if you want to have a system which is really portable. So let's get into it. So the number one reason why I think 28 millimeter is very good is because you can have something like a 35 millimeter by just moving a bit. Obviously you won't have the exact frame as a 35, but definitely you'll have something which is close to being a 35, and you also have the wider perspective when you need it. Now, why is it important? So in certain cases it's going to be very helpful. So number one is travel photography. So in travel photography, 28 millimeters kind of allows you to have a bit of the context, right? So it's not very wide as a 24 where you have a lot of distortion, but definitely with 28 also you'll have some, but it is well contained. And in travel photography and street photography you can add a lot of the context as well, which will be very helpful. So that's number one. So that's the number one reason. Now the number two reason is going to be the size of the lens. Now generally 28 millimeters in any system, right, whether it be the one I'm shooting in micro four thirds, whether it be full frame, whether it be APS-C, mostly the lenses will be relatively small. Okay, if you're going with f2 and above, so not f 1.4 or something, but if you're going with f2, which I feel for travel photography, for street photography, or general walk around photography, I think f2 is more than enough. So definitely the size is going to be quite less. So let me show you with an example. Now this is a Lumix 28 2.5. Now obviously this is not the fastest lens, but as you can see it is absolutely tiny. So there is, like, it weighs only 77 grams, right? So that is why when you attach it to this camera, you really don't feel the weight, you don't feel the lens getting in your way at all, and it has very good optics. So normally 28 millimeters you will see optics which are really good, um, and I don't think there is a problem that you're going to encounter necessarily. So that's number two. So number one, as I mentioned, was the usability of a 28. It's not a specialist lens per se, but it can do a lot of things. Number two is its size and weight, like I mentioned. And now number three has to do with why it is going to be your, or rather it ties into why I would recommend it being your second lens, not your first. So number three, the reason is it allows you to develop as a photographer, or rather more as a photographer, because at 28 you pay a bit more attention to the surroundings that you have in your picture, and you understand, or you then try to understand the different elements that you're having. So normally photographers come either from a 50 or maybe a kit lens with a higher zoom, and then you are coming to 35 also, right? So 28 kind of gives you that understand. Now you are beyond that, only bokeh is what a camera is for. So now you are understanding maybe the nitty gritties of photography, and it allows you to then understand subject placement in a scene, subject placement in a frame, etc., the light. So all of these things make a 28 really good. And it's not going to be as wide as a 24, but it's not going to be a bit more tighter than a 35. So it's just in that sweet spot. So these are the things, the positives that are there for 28. And now comes some of the cons of 28 basically. So the number one con, I'll say, or rather limitation of a 28 millimeters is the lack of potentially the lack of background blur. Now the reason I say potentially is because it's not that you can't get background separation or background blur. Okay, if a subject is relatively close to your sensor, then you will get a background separation. So it's not that you will not get background separation, but it is tougher to achieve and it is not as dramatic of an effect as you can potentially see in a 35, 50 or 85. So that's definitely there. But like I mentioned in my final pro of the lens, that when you have this as your second lens, you are past that phase of only chasing background separation, or rather background blur or bokeh, right? So that's something that is a con of the lens, that background bokeh is tougher to achieve, I'll say. Number two, and that has got to do with how difficult it may feel using this lens. So, um 28 is not a lens which is very friendly to you unless you are paying really, really good attention. And that's something which you kind of have to get used to, and you need to know how to kind of get through that phase of learning. um, and it's a bit more difficult because since you can't really rely on the background to melt away that easily, you need to pay more attention to having, or rather being deliberate about placement of different subjects within the frame to then achieve that, how do I say, that final image that you potentially have in mind. So that can be a challenge. So I think that's number two. And number three, and this is going to be for astrophotography specifically because I like doing it. 28 doesn't really allow you to have a low enough shutter speed a lot of times, and it also doesn't bring out the details in the night sky. So that's also something that you need to keep in mind, because a fast 50 lens, even a 1.8 or an f2, it can really allow you to get those details in the Milky Way or in the stars or in the mountains, whatever, right? A 28 really will not allow you, and it's not wide enough also to capture the entire vista of the Milky Way. So yeah, these are the things that you kind of need to keep in mind when you are considering a 28 millimeter lens. But apart from that, I think it's a fantastic option for you to have. There are many lenses which are really, really good in terms of affordability, uh, in terms of lightweight design that I mentioned. The size is really small and it's not an intimidating lens in terms of, once you get the hang of it, you understand what it does, it becomes very second nature for you and you enjoy that wider frame of view. And that is why it is my favorite focal length. And I'll talk about how focal length gets influenced by the place that you're photographing. So it can be your neighborhood, it can be the city you are in, the village you are in, whatever, and where a tighter focal length and where wider focal length can also benefit. So that's for the next one. So yeah, that's it. See you in the next video. Hopefully you find this helpful, and hopefully you give 28 mm a chance, because a lot of photographers don't do it. It's mainly for street photography. It's not, you can even shoot portraits also with this lens. So yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.